Being executive produced by Issa Mercado today.
Woo!
Thank you, Issa.
Thank you,
Thank
Issa.
you, Issa. We love you.
We are currently in Palm Springs for episode 4 of Night School. We have officially hit almost 30K on one of our videos.
Followers.
30K followers, we wish.
Just
no.
lying.
But
Yeah.
you should follow our
Just-
TikTok.
There she goes lying again.
There she goes lying again.
Acting, babe. I'm an actress.
I have a supercut just waiting to expose you.
Ready? Let's go.
Oh my god. All right, well, we are on our brand trip for my 28th birthday here at Funny Girl Mansion. Yeah, so we're here for my 28th. All the girls have arrived. We've been having a wonderful time shrooming our dicks off.
It's true.
It's been wonderful. Honestly, I asked for a better 28th birthday than being in a $5 million mansion with my best friend shrooming my dick off.
It's true. And that's approximately how much it costs, because I did look it up on Zillow before I came here, because I'm a control freak and I don't go anywhere without looking things up on Zillow.
Can you imagine if I just had lied to you about this entire experience? I was like, yeah, we're going to stay at Sarah's house. It's like a Motel 6. Like, the address didn't exist.
I would never have arrived because I always look up the address of where I'm going. And I always check how much it costs and when it's sold, because I always have to make sure. If I, like, depending on the situation, like, if the photos of when it's sold are like 10 years old, and I don't feel safe, because I'm like, oh, if I know somebody bought this house, and if I've casually heard, oh, it was bought in the last 3 years, and the photos are like 10 years old, then I know that's not what it currently looks like, and I don't feel safe. What if it got demoed and something else was made in its stead, you know?
Yeah, like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. So I don't feel safe unless I...
That was my second choice for my
Zillow.
birthday. It was Chuck E. Cheese.
That's crazy.
Fun.
I would never step foot in a Chuck E. Cheese.
We've been also debating Izzie's level of sobriety.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I swear on my life, every other day I've done some magical mushrooms. Not a lot, but some. I drank. I smoked weed. Today, I've only hit the weed pen like twice and vaped. I've done nothing else. But maybe it's just all kicking in at once. Maybe the mushrooms were delayed, and now I'm feeling everything.
You are making little hair knots or something with your
I found
you have
a red string.
okay,
Kabbalah.
yeah.
Kabbalah. That's what I was just going to say. Okay, Madonna,
It's on
calm
my shirt.
down.
I have nothing red with me,
Hold
so
the mic to your mouth.
I am
She's
acting
not
like-
she's not beating the allegations.
She's not beating the case.
I think when people make allegations against me, my instinct
Hold the
is-
mic.
my string. Okay, I'm fine. My instinct when people make any sort of allegations is like, yeah. Like if it wasn't before, now it is.
You just agree with the most
Sorry,
horrendous.
I'm autistically truly playing with this string. I need to get rid of it. Sorry, Sarah.
That's beautiful. Such a practice of non-attachment.
I loved it.
I'm
You
still
just
just
threw
gonna
the string
stare
away.
at it.
I was talking to Izzie about this, Alana, but I feel like this trip you and I obviously have gotten, because we just haven't spent that much time like together, like in long periods, and so I feel like we definitely got closer. And like through this, I feel like my level of comfort roasting you has increased,
Oh,
and so
thank
now I feel so much more comfortable like doing it, because it's also like timing too. It's like when to be a conscious human, you have to be like, okay, if we're starting a friendship, you don't come out the gate swinging. Like it takes time to get,
true.
acclimated with one another. So obviously I wasn't going to start throwing things out of the, out the gate. But, on my way to get you all natural pads today, I was like, I'll just look for the one that looks like bark.
It's true. That was a good roast. Also, roasting is my love language.
Yeah.
And I really...
It is mine too.
I really desire being roasted. It's like something I really...
But you have this magnetism about you that Izzie and I were talking about it too. We were like, we don't want to argue with Alana. Like, Alana's our god. Like,
guru.
Alana's our guru. Like, we don't want to, like, so
Guru
I'm sure...
Cloud Robinson.
Guru Cloud Robinson.
Stop. I'm not a guru. I'm not a messiah. I'm not Christ-like. You guys stop saying those crazy things like that.
We've been in the pool for 3 days.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just
still
wanna
trying to figure out the heater.
Oh yeah, the jacuzzi.
Yeah,
I
and
think
also
Issa figured it out.
Speaking of Izzie's lying, Izzie gets in the cold jacuzzi every day and goes, "It's getting warmer." And it's not. It's cold.
It says literally on the temperature 69 degrees.
She got in 3 times the first night we were here, and every time said, it's getting warmer. And I would follow her and get in and be like, you're a liar.
See, now Alana just doesn't believe me about anything.
Yeah, you got in it earlier and you were like, it's not cold. And I said, liar. Lies.
I mean,
you are the actress of the group, though. We need you to keep it light.
We need someone to be an actress.
We need someone to be an actress because it's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Crazy actress energy.
It was so funny. We were in Whole Foods. We're at the cake. Like we're waiting for the cake, and we're all so sun-soaked and cooked. And Izzie's like, "Do you think we should just like get the check?" I'm like, "We are in a grocery store."
At the
what
cake counter.
Do you see?
He was our waiter. The cake guy.
I feel that yesterday was another level. I mean, you can throw a photo in, but I was the highest I was. Oh yeah,
I'll stitch a photo in.
Sitting in the back seat of Issa's car, gripping a plastic dragon doll, and feeling like if I let go of it, something bad was going to happen to me.
Ooh.
And I felt like the doll looked masculine to me. And when it was masculine, the way its face looked, it looked like it was telling a joke. And then Issa was like, no, it's a girl. And then I was like, oh, she's yelling at me.
Classic woman.
I don't know what that says about my psyche. But when it was a man, it was telling a sexist joke. And when it was a woman, it was yelling at me.
And you felt safer when it was telling a sexist joke.
I felt safer when it was a man telling a sexist joke.
That's valid.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, we're not assigning gender to it.
I did. I needed it to be a man.
Right.
I assigned its gender. If you want to cancel me because I assigned the gender of a plastic dragon, then so be it. I'm fine with that because I needed it to be a man. And then I decided later that it was a Hey Mama's lesbian named Leslie. And then I felt safe also again with Leslie.
That's the same.
And then its actual name, what did you name it?
Its stud name.
Yeah, its government name was Leslie. Its stud name was Vendetta or V.
I love that.
Yeah.
V.
That was my journey yesterday.
That's so
and the
funny.
sheep, we saw bighorn sheep, a pack of them.
That was
Bentley
crazy.
tried to run them down.
Yo, animals, when I'm high on mushrooms, give me a level of uncanny valley discomfort that I cannot quantify into words.
You kind of freaked me out too. You were like that does, you said that it feels like an omen. And then I was like looking at them and I was also high and I was like, oh fuck, it's like traditional like satanic pagan symbol of like a ram with horns
that's way
or something.
More negative than I was going. I was like, let's
look at it set me on a dark trail. I was like, Baphomet has materialized in front of us and I'm so high. Also, why are they so muscular?
Why does its head move
to climb
like
mountains? They're like,
its head was like its head looked like an animatronic. It looked like it was off the Pirates of the Caribbean trip.
That's what I said. You guys were having like ego death moments in there. You're thinking, Baphomet and whatever.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was like, this is like Disneyland in real life. This is a dream. Like this, we're on a safari.
Yeah, and we took the golf carts out. We've been having a magical time.
Golf carts have been great.
We also started the Mormon show. They've forced me to watch reality TV and it's really damaged my psyche. I'm not gonna lie. By the end of the night last night, I was pacing and yelling at the TV.
Yeah, you were loving it.
Oh yeah,
that's what it means to be a reality TV enjoyer, though, is that you become upset and you yell at the
people.
TV.
They're not characters.
No, honey.
Yeah.
I wasn't rooting for a single person. I was
are.
screaming at the TV, calling them dumb whores. Like this was not putting me in a good place.
You can say that about everyone, but you can't say that about my girl Demi.
Oh no, Demi I like because she'll fucking say it how it is. That was the only one that I was like, she's my girl. For you.
I like the chronically ill girls, Michaela.
Yeah. I feel really bad for her.
She's my girl.
But
she's very pretty.
It's just hard for me to watch stuff where knowing that it's all manipulated, it's difficult for me to root for anyone because knowing it's all manipulated, I feel as if I'm a part of the sociological experiment and I'm not enjoying it. But I'm enjoying it with the girls because everybody's enjoying my discomfort, which I also enjoy watching other people watch my discomfort because I'm kinky. But
I like the show. It started out and I thought it wouldn't be as dramatic. I thought they were just going to try to make other like things dramatic that weren't, or kind of just like play up the drama, but like
well, there's that like very first scene where they're like, it feels very forced. They're sitting at a coffee shop and like one of the girls is like, my husband never initiates sex, and the other girl's like, really? That sucks. We're Mormons. And you're like, okay, is this what the whole show is gonna be? And then by the end it's like, spoiler, someone gets arrested.
Yeah. It
Crazy.
There's a lot of hair changes. I don't know what the timeline with filming this was, but some of the girls changed their hair like 6 times.
Yeah.
The Mormons are really into hair. That's where they spend all their money on, like
and soda.
30-inch extensions
and Botox. Well, there was that whole thing.
Filler.
I don't know if you saw that part, but it was like, because they don't drink and smoke or anything like that,
with perfection.
they get the no. They do the laughing gas when they go to get Botox, and that's the only way. The nitrous.
That's what Kanye's addicted to.
Yes.
Right now with the twisted dentist.
Yeah, the twisted dentist. It's true. That's a crazy thread.
That is.
You read that thread, right?
No.
Milo Yiannopoulos put out this whole thread about how
the truth teller.
Kanye,
yeah.
About how he's like broken away from Kanye because he's got this like demon dentist. Sweeney Todd dentist who's like
looks like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, who's like prescribing him nitrous, and he's like heavily addicted. It's like very sad, actually.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
And like there's literally like screenshots and stuff of him just being like, can I have more nitrous? Like it's really like
that's such a sad thing to be.
See, that just makes me really sad for his kids.
Yeah,
like that just makes me really sad.
I know.
For his kids.
But the mom talk women are into it too, apparently.
But and I think that going back to the mom talk thing, like I think that's what bothers me the most about the show is that I just think about the kids going to school and having their peers talk about what they're seeing their mothers are doing on television, and I imagine how difficult that must be for them and how
that's going to be a whole future generation though.
Yeah,
there's going to be the
TikTok
future is
our
kids.
TikTok moms who put videos of their kids online. They're going to be like, Mom, I'm 12 and I can consent to saying no to
all of that kind of stuff,
a dance,
or even just like, just young parents doing crazy things and something goes viral and kids are cruel at school. I wonder what it's going to be like for all those.
According to a lot of the research that I've read, a lot of that generation, I believe it's Gen Alpha, is actually turning away from technology in a lot of ways. There's a sharp decrease in the teenagers now who are on social media. It's seen as cringe.
Oh, that's good news.
Some really are, and some of them are really interested in pursuing social media and being a content creator of many different sorts.
That's a job now.
Yeah, it's
totally a legitimate profession and career, and they have classes.
And some of them are just completely not interested in being online.
I can understand how that would be. I think with us, it was so new. And so much less invasive that it was kind of fun and everyone participated. But now it's become all engulfing.
Well, it used to be, I remember MySpace felt like
the best.
It tapped into like my like world building thing almost, because it was like you were building like, it was kind of like building a website. It was like building like a representation of yourself digitally, and it was fun, and we all learned how to code randomly. But Facebook was like more, Facebook was the beginning because that was where it became more about these like albums of photos
and like moments.
Yeah. But I remember MySpace more than anything was my favorite, just because it was like kind of like it tapped something in my brain like playing The Sims does, because it was like almost like a world building thing.
Yeah.
And then Facebook was more, I think, connected to like at the age that I was at, it was more about like boys, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it was like a way I could like
stalk them,
see what they're up to.
It also felt like societal currency too. Like if you were tagged, if you were in a photo with somebody that had clout on Facebook, you were then associated with hanging out with them, and then like you were deemed cool. Which I guess
that's carried over,
and that's carried over to now Instagram as well.
Instagram's more in your face for some reason. I feel like it's just
hard. It's where
different.
Everything happens. It's where people's businesses are occurring, people's just like random social lives.
It's like a bazaar.
It's like everything big and small is happening on Instagram, and people are using it for their livelihood.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy place, and that's why the conversation about it is so funny, because like whenever I meet someone who, I don't know, there's always people where like if you talk about Instagram, they'll be like, you just shouldn't care that much, and it's like, Absolutely. If you are a doctor, or you do like a real world concrete job, but for a lot of people that are breaking those molds, we kind of have to stay plugged in, and it's a little bit torturous, but we have to keep abreast and pay attention.
I think also too, it's as we see, with the mass post-COVID people leaving their jobs and starting their own businesses, social media has had a huge impact on that, and has been a huge reason that people have been able to start their own businesses, to your point. So, I think there are pros and cons, and I think in anything in life that can be addictive or can be negative is too small of a word, but addictive, it's a balance. Like you can't be terminally online, but you also have to. I think what pisses me off is when people shit on it all the time, and they're like, "Oh, you're terminally online. You're always online," and I get that, and I understand there's valid critique in that. There is some cost benefit analysis of being too overexposed, even within when you're building a brand or a product. There is a level of illusion and mystery and demand that you want to create. But at the same time, when you're a creator and you are creating, you have to levy and leverage your network. And if you don't do that and share things and unfortunately embrace the flop, embrace the cringe, you are never going to you're never going to actually break through your small niche or sector of the world. So yes, you have
to be vulnerable in some aspect. We were talking about this last night, how people don't really connect with you online unless you're a little bit vulnerable, or I guess like the opposite. But vulnerability, I think, is the key to being. I mean, I've always liked being esoteric online and a mystery, but this has been a really fun lesson for me, because I'm the girl who deletes her Instagram like
twice a week.
All the time. I'm like, I don't need this. I'll have it gone for 6 months, and then I'll come back. And I truly have started caring less about Instagram, because now I'm doing our podcast social media, and it's so fulfilling. Because it's like validation for something that's not just like, because my Instagram's just like me. And it used to be like when I worked on Hacks, and when I was like, that was, I got followers who enjoyed that show. But now it's truly just like a project that we're all doing. And it's so much more fun to get validated for that than like, oh, I look pretty. Like, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Well, I do. Just kidding. I do. Just not as much.
Yeah. And I think it's been really cool too over this last weekend, I feel like, and the last week too.
Getting famous.
The last episode was, I felt like a much deeper cut than we had done previously. And it was really cool hearing people reach out about their own concepts of spirituality. I've had a few of those happen.
Oh, that's nice.
And I think the key, and Izzie and I were talking about this, there is such a blessing and a strength and a gift in being able to be vulnerable. And it's not something everybody has. But if you do have that ability to convey authentic truth through vulnerability, it's such a powerful tool of communication and connection that I feel like is such a departure from that indie vibe of like, you're so cringe for being terminally online and sharing all your trauma online. And sure, there are some people who it is cringe.
I love cringe.
But I also respect people who are brave enough to go out there and be honest. It's hard to be honest. Yeah. It's hard to be honest in your day-to-day life, even when you have a small disagreement with a friend or a boyfriend. And it's hard to stand up there and say how you feel, especially when you're doing it to the masses.
Well, I think there's something so endearing about just doubling down on being cringe. Honestly, like being okay with
everything's cringe till you get a check.
Period.
That's exactly my mentality, Alana. Thank you.
Honestly, because that's the big thing I was thinking about with like social media, especially like, I've kind of like done modeling for a long time to pay the bills. It's not something I particularly enjoy, but it's something that I'm grateful to be able to occasionally do. I don't book a ton, but there is always a direct correlation between me posting a photo of myself and getting an email from my agent like, someone's interested in you.
Yeah.
So there's this thing I wrestle with every time I'm about to post a photo of myself where I'm like, oh no, people are going to think blah, blah, blah. And then I have to remember that, you know, on some level, it's to my benefit to just use it as the business tool that I understand it intellectually to be.
Yeah.
Because, and even if you're not that, and even if it's not connected to business, like still, you know, it's do whatever the fuck you want. But even more so, I think, when you're in a position where you know there's a correlate. Like, I feel like I'm genuinely self-sabotaging myself when I stop myself from posting something on the basis of what people will think about me, because
totally
it's silly, and I've been able to pay my rent sometimes because of posting a photo on Instagram.
So. And why do these people, like, why do we give these people, because I've felt the same way, like, just in general, and giving these people the power of, like,
and also they're people in your head, though. Like,
yeah,
most
exactly.
of the time
they're
it's
not,
like,
that's not who they are.
I have never seen, I mean, maybe like once or twice, but there's usually more to it. But like, when do you ever see a photo someone posts on Instagram and go,
yeah,
try hard?
Yeah.
Someone looks good, you're like, wow, you look great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't ever dwell on so why does the critic in my head tell me that other people are so obsessed with me that they're like,
I love when people try hard too. Like, I'm more just like, you go
off. Yeah. There's some people that I like love so much on social media. I'm too embarrassed to say, but there's some people I love so much on social media that are like niche, like micro influencers, where like every time they post, I'm just like, more.
Yeah, same. I love
more. The one I will shout out is Drawn May. Drawn May is this girl I follow who I also know in real life, and she is very cool. Drawn May, if you ever see this, every time you post, I love it. Keep posting forever.
And
I love your life.
Sally Mullins, you're my queen.
Sally Mullins, never stop.
Never stop. I adore
shout out
you.
Trona.
Shout out Trona, you desert rose. I love you to the day you die. My Virgo sister till we die. No, and I also think it's too, you say like you're worried about what other people are going to think about you posting. I think conversely too, I find myself, out of I think the three of us, I am the one who's most terminally online, and that's for me. I don't give a fuck, quite frankly. It
depends on the website.
Yeah,
agreed.
You're on some deep cuts. I know. We know.
You on Telegram?
Signal?
For legal purposes, no.
Reddit?
Definitely. But I find myself, conversely, also in certain mental spaces, I'll be curating it for other people, being like, oh, I wonder if they'll see this. Oh, I wonder if this will catch their eye. I think that's just as toxic.
Yeah.
Can I
you mean more in like the dating capacity, or like
I do that?
I think
post stories for one person sometimes. Yeah. I've hid everyone from my story once because I wanted to make this guy jealous with the last guy I had dated. We had broken up, but I had a picture of him, like I hadn't posted it. So I hid everybody from my story except that guy.
Did he watch it?
No, but one of his friends did.
I remember when you told me about this. And you were like,
this was like not a long time ago either. This was in the last year.
And you telling this right now is so funny.
I just think I was more like a bit. Like, I truly, this is not a guy I see a future with. It was just, I was trying. He was like,
oh my God.
Not even blowing me off, but just like being entitled and trying to hang out. And I was just like, I want him to feel jealous.
Slay. I have no.
It's honestly go off. It's just hilarious because you were literally like, all right, I did something kind of unhinged. I have to tell you, but it's embarrassing. And now you're just like, that's what I love about you.
Yeah, I love it.
And I kind of do the same thing. I feel like maybe we all do in some way. Like I take the wind out of everybody else's sails by just outing myself.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, Courtney Carswell, I have to issue a public apology.
Wait, who?
Courtney Carswell. We went to high school with her.
Okay.
Courtney, I went to your house when we were in like, I had to have been 9th or 10th grade. I have to be honest, I was just pre-bleeding, or I had a tampon in and it was long overdue. And like the feral animal I've always been, I sat on your bed and I bled right through it. And I just covered the duvet right over.
Yeah.
And I never spoke about it, and we never saw each other again. But I want to issue a public apology.
And we had a brief conversation about this before we recorded, and Jesse was like, should I apologize to Courtney Carswell on air? And I said, you should.
Yeah,
so
I am really sorry.
If you see this,
I'm really sorry. I really shouldn't have done that. I should have just admitted to it, but it was so embarrassing. And you were older than me. And again, like I was so insecure in high school, truly just, again, as we've discussed, wanted to die. I was like, this will ruin me. And I had just also, I'm going to bleep his name, hooked up with Nick. And
can we please get in the habit of saying names and bleeping them?
Yeah. Oh, we've been,
cover your mouth,
honey,
though,
we've been doing that.
Really? We've been bleeping them?
Yeah, I bleeped the comedy club I was talking about last time. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we've been bleeping.
I'm going to speak freely about everyone then.
Oh
yeah. Just cover your mouth.
If you really
don't
want
so no lip readers.
You don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's obvious.
Okay, that's fun. I love that.
But yeah, no, I hooked up with and he BBM'd me on BlackBerry Messenger and was like, stop telling people we hooked up.
That's so mean.
And I was like in 9th grade and I had the biggest crush on him. I thought he was so cute.
That's
also
horrible.
You look like a shark now. The period episode was like right after that, and I was just like, my reputation can't survive this if this gets out. I'm just gonna hope and pray that that our cycles matched, and hopefully she was also on the rag.
Yeah, it was for the best. That could have ended very high school. Everyone's just super mean about uncontrollable things.
But yeah, that was I'm really sorry, Courtney, and I will Venmo you for new sheets if that's still an issue.
Yeah, please drop a comment if that's still an issue.
Drop a comment on our TikTok. We need that algorithm to go, babe.
We need as many comments
and feel free to
repost
this.
Like, follow, subscribe.
Comment, subscribe.
We're actually really just targeting this woman to become a fan of ours by shouting her out.
Wait, speaking of, because I need to have a bleep now that I know this is a thing.
Yeah.
Do you know?
The name sounds familiar.
I dated him. He looks like, I don't know, I was about to cover my mouth again. Yeah. I said he looks like a puffin.
Oh my God.
That's you can so say that. Specific. He looks like a puffin. Everybody used to say that. He also, can you pull up as soon as no, I can't. I don't know how to find him. He moved to Bakersfield after getting in a fight with my friend who was black, pertinent to the story because of what happens next, which is he heiled in the middle of the quad.
Say his name.
I can't. I'm scared of him, actually.
I would be too.
Because anyone that does that. But then the rumor that went around the school was that girlfriend, me, wouldn't have sex with him. His black girlfriend wouldn't have sex with him, so he became a Nazi. That was the rumor. So it was my fault. Villain origin story.
That's how he became a Nazi.
His black girlfriend didn't put out, and then he was like, you know what? I don't like any of them, actually, and maybe their skull shapes have something to do with it.
Wait, so were you guys dating at the time this rumor came out, and were you having sex?
He broke up with me because I didn't sleep with him.
Oh, so that was true, but not for the reason.
That wasn't the reason. Well, he broke up with me shortly after because I wouldn't sleep with him because I was 14 and he was like 17 or 18, and lost my virginity shortly after to a different 18-year-old. But he just wasn't the one. I looked at him and I was like, you bird bitch, I'm not gonna have this special moment with you.
Smart, because I fucking fumbled mine tough.
Yeah,
that was a rough. Yeah, this is a warning to all of our listeners who have not lost their virginity, all 2 of you. Do it with somebody you trust and not someone who just keeps poking you on Facebook.
That's back in the day, back in Mima's day, a poke meant a lot.
A poke meant a lot.
A poke was something special.
A poke was something special. Also gonna bleep this guy's name, but we'll just call it what it was. I was a sophomore in high school. He was a sophomore in college. I think he had come home after that, obviously. And we had been chatting and texting. He knew I was a virgin. We were going to spend Valentine's Day together. I got him like a bunch of weed because I'm like 16 and I'm like, that's exactly what a pothead would want for Valentine's Day, a bunch of weed.
You're right.
You're probably dead on. A good
and
gift.
He gave me like an ASU sweatshirt, which I quickly got rid of. It was a cool sweatshirt, but I
Go
obviously
Sun Devils.
I wanted nothing to do with him.
Sun Devils.
Actually, no, go Wildcats. I'm a U of A fan.
Period.
Out of those 2.
But anyway, so I go over there. We have sex. It's painful. Obviously, I don't know him. I don't like, but I'm like, whatever. Everyone else has lost their virginity. I'm like, just time to kick the can down the road. Let's get this done. Let's get this over with. Which is, again, not the approach you should have when losing your virginity or having sex for the first time. But again, me being the productivity queen, I was like, we'll just bat this out real quick. Have sex. it's mid. I sleep over. We go to Starbucks the next day. We lived pretty close to each other, and we pull up to the Park Starbucks. I think we eat a little bit, and then we're walking to the car, and I think I have like stuff at his house or something, and like a grip of girls from our high school pull up randomly.
Which girls? Say their names.
All I remember was it was like
those are all fake names. I don't know those people.
And he looks at me and he goes, I can't be seen with you, and leaves me in the parking lot. And that's the last time we ever. He did reach out, I'd say probably 4 or 5 years ago, to apologize.
That's nice.
So he was just saying, I'm really sorry for how I treated you. Like, I know that wasn't okay. But I think I said to him, I was like, it was a long time ago.
I'm not breaking anonymity because we're bleeping, but is he in the program by any chance? Is that the reason for the amends?
I have no idea.
9-step vibes?
Could be. That sounds like
9-step
Why
vibes.
else would someone come back around and apologize?
Well, I think because he popped up on either TikTok or my For You page or something, and I looked at his profile and I looked at his story, and he
the
saw
beauty
that,
of social media.
And then he reached out and said
and
that.
he was like, she's a comic, I might get canceled.
No, it was before I started comedy. I think I was still in college, actually.
Okay, well, then we'll give him the credit he's due.
2018, yeah.
No, I
think it was. I actually think it was because he thought he was going to get Me Too'd because it was 2018.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's what I actually think it was.
I didn't have enough people come out of the woodwork during Me Too, and I'm actually like, honestly, if you're watching this and you think maybe one day, maybe you're right, send me a text.
Yeah, I need some apologies.
I
haven't gotten any.
I was honestly, I look back on that and I have very mixed feelings about it, because on one hand I do appreciate the apology, but it was so long ago and it
brought back stuff.
It didn't bring back, but it takes two to tango. Like, I'm fully aware that like I was 16 in a group of friends that were highly sexualized and like hypersexualized, and like I full well wanted to lose my virginity. That was very clear in my head. But I think what that situation then led to for me was a series of patterns in future relationships that I would not become aware of until far later. So it kind of just made me sad, because it was like, I think that apology would have done a lot if it had happened probably earlier, rather than it being, you know, I don't know, 7 years later.
Yeah.
And so that it was a, you know, I guess I appreciate it on one level. And then on the other level, I'm like, I've gone through enough therapy now. Like, and again, that's like not the most traumatic thing that's happened to me. Like, that was just, you know, one fun little anecdote about a virginity story. So it wasn't like this was, you know, the nail in the coffin, but it definitely, the apology would have been nicer about 7 years earlier.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing about amends sometimes. It's like, it's technically it's never too late, but also in some ways there comes a time where so much time has passed that it ultimately becomes more beneficial for the person apologizing than for the person who's receiving the apology.
Yeah, completely.
Because
it's like, we don't care.
I've received apologies after a very long time where I've had like anger, and I'm like, okay, why now? Like, why are you even bringing this up? Like, thanks, you know, like that kind of, and almost been surprised by my own anger.
Totally.
And it's more like, oh, so you can feel, but you know,
yeah,
it's very interesting. I don't know. We appreciate him, I guess regardless.
Yeah.
You'll never know who he is because we bleep their names.
Oh, he'll
apparently
know, and someone will send this to him, which is fine. You're lucky I haven't written a bit about it.
I love the threatening of a bit.
Oh yeah, bits are vicious. That's how it's so funny. Guys on dating apps, when I was off them, because I'm done now. I'm officially done. They would always be like, do you get all your material from dating and like being on this app, or am I going to be a joke? Am I, you know,
you already are.
It's like, you don't understand. If you end up as a bit, something terribly wrong has happened, to a degree that I would break my I don't talk about dating rule on stage. Like, you have to do something so abhorrent that it is outside the realm of what anyone can believe. Please go check out my Australian clip on my Instagram at Jessie Zand if you'd like a sneak peek. What I was seeing was a 7'1" Australian juggler. For me to include you in a motherfucking bit, you do not want to be a bit. I assure you, I keep my bits to my parents. That's it. Because if it's a dating one. But you said that now
you're comfortable with me. Can I be a bit?
Yes.
On paper, I'm like one of those guys you meet at Burning Man who like suns his asshole and like won't shut up about like personal
so you've heard my bit
and like personal enlightenment.
So you've heard my bit.
Yeah.
The guy who drinks his own pee.
Yeah. Who's
okay? I'm not okay.
You're not quite there.
Within reason. Yeah. I mean, when you were telling me about that guy, I was like, I do feel like we would get along.
Yeah. You definitely have some good conversation with him.
Yeah.
He should come on the pod.
Yeah.
That would require me unblocking him.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Can't do that.
Why did you go off of the apps?
That's a good question. I think for me, time was one of them. For me, like now that the podcast is really starting to become like a thing that we are really committed to, I want my energy and focus to be on that. And I also found that I struggle with superficiality a lot. It's something that I judge based off a photo, and it's not fair to, but I think someone I would find attractive in a bar, or like, not that I really drink, but someone I would find attractive out and about, I wouldn't necessarily scroll yes on in a dating app. And so I find myself, I've only had one person in the last year that like really broke my heart and that I met on a dating app. And I think in a lot of ways I'm probably still recovering from that. And I just feel like the apps are not for me. And I also sense that a lot of the guys that like me on there like me because I do stand up, and I've had them tell me that. They think it's really cool that I do stand up, which I'm really flattered by. But I also feel like that's baseline, that you find this thing that I'm passionate about attractive, right? Like that's almost the way that you would recognize someone physically and find them attractive is kind of the same way I equate it. Like, yes, I'm good at this thing and I'm learning this craft, but if that is what you are interested in me about,
well, maybe it's like the comedy thing can be like, you're a chill girl.
That's kind of what it is.
And nobody wants to actually be regarded as a chill girl.
And I am also incredibly picky. So when I go on dates, because this is the longest I've been single since my life. I've always been a serial monogamist up until my last relationship. The longest I had been single was 6 months. And then I met my previous boyfriend, who we were together for almost 3 years. And so we broke up in 2022. So it's almost been 2.5 years now, give or take, of being single, and I've grown exponentially through that. And I just feel like now that I've been on the apps for 2 years, I have like a list of questions that I go through even before we like meet up. I'm like, what are you looking for? If they say I just got out of a relationship, or if they say I'm just looking to see what's out there, if they say I just looking for something casual, I won't even go on a first date, won't even entertain it. Wow. Then we get on the date and it's always an activity. I do not do drinks. I do not do anything at night. I either do ice cream, coffee, or a walk. During that date, I will ask if they've ever been in therapy, what is their vernacular and comfort around mental health. If both those answers are, I've never been in therapy, I don't believe in therapy, or I've never had a problem with my mental health, date's over. And if they've never been in therapy, we don't continue, because I have now made the decision that I will not date anyone who has never actually done therapy and has done it I would prefer a year, but I'll take 6 months and continue to do it. If they are not in therapy, we will not date.
This, interestingly, I feel like brings up another interesting point. So I've been talking about this a lot, how there's obviously a culture, like seems to be your position, is like wanting somebody who's in therapy. Whereas for me, I appreciate some therapy. Like there's people that have had no therapy, and I think it's important that they have some introduction to getting in touch with their emotions. But I've also known a lot of people, men in particular, that are over-therapized.
I can attest.
And I actually find myself now enjoying men that are not therapized versus over-therapized, because sometimes those are actually the most malicious people you will ever meet, who have learned the language who have learned to weaponize therapy speak and manipulate it to their advantage. and I might be alone in this, but I do think there's kind of an epidemic of therapized men. You can have. I mean, I'm in a relationship, but still, you can have them.
I dated someone who had done like therapy for 8 years, and then he was like really good at gaslighting. Like he wasn't like an evil guy. He clearly was able to deal with stuff in a more mature way than a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I do think maybe he needed a new therapist or something.
Yeah,
but I think
that's part of it too. Maybe it's actually, you know what? Let's not blame the patients. Let's blame the therapists.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe.
I think maybe people just, and I've been guilty of this too, having a therapist that you just get so comfortable with that you stop actually doing the work. You just become kind of like friends who check in.
Exactly. Or they're just like, there were times, I don't go to therapy anymore, but there were times where I knew on some level that I wasn't behaving entirely in integrity, but like I felt like certain therapists would start to like get comfortable with me, where they just be like, it's okay to take space. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I'm like a recluse and I'm not available for other people ever, because I get like extremely burnt out, and then like I become agoraphobic, and they're like, it's okay to say no. And you're like, I don't know if that's the best advice actually. Maybe it's better if you tell me like I should push myself a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like what I find is overall most men have, whether it's by nature or nurture, have a discomfort in communicating and recognizing their feelings in the speed and specificity that it requires to be in a long-term relationship. And what I mean by that is most men I've found take 72 business hours to process their feelings and be able to have a conversation about it. And they just shut down when conflict arises or they lash out. And for me, as somebody who's been in therapy for a decade, now we're at 11 years, I will not tolerate that level of communication. I've been in an abusive relationship before, and so it is of utmost importance to me that the person that I'm with is also has a very clear understanding, comfort, and diligence to their mental health, because I think this is something I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life. Like, I have had major depression since I was 4 years old. I had suicidal ideations at as young as 4. Like, I never forget, like, I was in a ballet recital, and coupled with extreme body dysmorphia, was in a leotard, and I like had you know how like kids have like kind of like a stuck out stomach, you know? And I was like, I remember saying to myself at 4 years old, you look so fucking disgusting, kill yourself. And then that kill yourself thing would just kind of come over in my head over and over and again, like repetitive thoughts. Obviously didn't do anything at that age, but that's alarming to have. And it's a chemical thing. Both my parents struggle with anxiety and depression. My mom has always had extreme anxiety. So this is something I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. And I have to take my mental health incredibly seriously in order to not fall into drugs, into, you know, different versions of addiction, you know, seeking external validation from men. And so I will need whoever that person ends up being to have, and it, to your point, it may not actually have to be someone in therapy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
but it has to be somebody, but it has to be someone who understands that mental health is of utmost importance in my life and their life.
Yeah.
And they take care of it. Well, I don't care if it's meditation, I don't care if it's journaling, but they have some sort of mental health self-care practice. I think that
makes sense. Yeah.
Or what if they don't have any mental health problems, but
everyone has mental health problems,
or having at least having an understanding, because it is true. There are, I think, people who, like I said, I don't go to therapy anymore, but I've had mental health issues forever.
And you were in therapy for many years.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I was in alternative kinds of therapy, but and some traditional therapists too. And I actually feel like a lot of my trauma actually came from therapy.
Oh, interesting.
I've had because from a young age, I felt torn in a lot of different directions of who I am, and have felt over time, I've done a lot of different therapy modalities, to be fair, but I've had a lot of different people try to suggest who I am. And from being in a professional setting, professional capacity, it definitely did a number on my psyche and my ability to determine who I am for myself. But that's also that's not everyone, and that's also could just be almost like, you know, some kind of a sort of character flaw or a character defect that I once had, where I didn't have a strong sense of self, so it's easy for someone to fill in the blank for me, which is, I think, maybe why I am particularly sensitive to men who are so the other thing that sort of I think is a red flag for me with men is men that are so therapized that they cannot be open to other ideas that their therapist has not already has not impart, like they almost like deify. I mean, it's often sometimes I think men with female therapists too,
absolutely.
Which talk about
Tony
something
Soprano.
deep and like some mommy
Freudian,
thing, where it's like, you know, them believing that the word of their therapist is somehow like the word of God. And I personally had to step away from therapy to start trusting my own intuition, because it can become addictive sometimes, where you feel like you need this person to validate to co-sign any thought, any idea. But I also think that depends on who you are and what your particular mental health issues are. And I do think that men, it's also like almost, I think more than anything, it's like looking for men that have a sense of empathy. Mm-hmm. Because you can meet people who have never been to therapy, men who have never been to therapy, but who have, through their lived experiences, their own trials and tribulations, have developed a radical sense of empathy. Maybe they watched a parent struggle with mental health, or a previous relationship taught them, or whatever, and they've come to have a deeper understanding of it. So they do exist. But I think also I know what you mean, because there's some people where it's the sort of dismissal of all of that, where you say like, oh, this is important to me, and they're like, yeah, fuck that shit.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I think for me too, the most prominent thing that I notice is that there is a lack of vocabulary around it.
Yeah,
and that to me is where I have an issue, because I have worked so hard on communication, and the particular therapy style or modality that I've done is dialectical behavioral therapy, which is all about questions, but also discourse and balancing the middle path. You know, it's based in mindfulness. It's typically used to treat BPD. Mm-hmm. And so it's understanding that emotions, you know, the fact versus the feeling, understanding that, you know, figuring out coping mechanisms to self-regulate, whether that's, you know, if you're having a panic attack or a mental breakdown, like finding, like observing, like going around and like counting things, or, you know, opposite action. If you feel impulsive and you want to do something destructive, you do the opposite of that. And just practicing like really tangible tools to counter the voices or whatever in your head that are trying to, you know, lead you astray, if you will. And so I have such a high vocabulary and vernacular around it that to be with somebody who has either no understanding or is dismissive of it, and isn't, self-care is really important to me. Like whether mental and physical, like I couldn't be with somebody who isn't active. I play tennis, I hike, I surf, you know, I walk 4 miles a day. I have to be with somebody who is just as active as I am. And I find that people who are typically a little bit more, and there's no judgment in that, like sedentary or like, you know, indoor cats, like that is not a big pillar of their life or their mental health practice. And for me, it's massive. Like I know I've been in a little bit of a slump lately mentally, and part of it is because I have been so focused on what we're doing that I haven't taking enough time for self-care and working out and doing that thing that I know increases my serotonin and makes me feel good. And so I need someone that will be able to understand that and also be a partner to me in that. Like, hey, I know you're like down right now. Like, do you want to go on a walk? Like, you know, rather than it being like, what's wrong? Like I have been in relationships where that, like I remember distinctly with my ex, and he doesn't fucking listen, so who cares. We talked about self-sucking last time, and that's been out for weeks now, and it still has not crossed anyone's, it's not been a conversation, and he's watching my dog right now, so whatever. But I remember my ex was just like so not checked in ever in our relationship, and it would drive me nuts because I would be like, I am having a really, really dark day right now, and I'm not okay. And he's just like, I don't understand why you're not okay. And I'm like, motherfucker, me neither. It's the chemicals in my brain that are telling me, hey, jump off this ledge right now. I think it would be fun to fly. Like, I don't know why I'm thinking
he
that.
just didn't have even the capacity to
no, he was too
let
busy
you hold
saying
space.
Johnny Cucker.
No, that totally makes sense. That makes total sense. I think it's funny because in some ways I'm totally the opposite, because when I'm struggling and I want to be asked what's wrong, and I want to have a conversation about it, and I want it to be like a deep discussion. And if somebody asks me to go on a walk,
like,
murder.
To go on a walk and talk, like to
sure.
do something.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely want them to
but
ask
if
me
it's
what's
like,
going wrong.
If it's like, it's like we need to go outside and get some. Listen, I understand the importance of that completely.
No,
but I've dated so many people who have tried for me. I don't know. I need somebody. I need a deep discussion of things. Same. Always. I'm more cerebral than I am physical.
Yeah, but just knowing like, hey, like I know you're having a rough day. I'm gonna pick you up your favorite snack.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Something like
the
that.
Little things.
It's like
that's
the little
important.
Things, like that they know that like, oh, this she's having a rough day. Like
yeah.
I know that this, whether it's from my own personal practice, my own understanding of my mental health, like this pick me up is something I'd appreciate. So I think she would too.
Because even if they don't have the language, I find that goes a long way. Like, it's at least the acknowledgement. Like, because I'm in those situations often where I don't really know what's going on. I just don't feel well, and it's just so nice when even if someone doesn't understand why or what to do necessarily, but it's just the feeling of that you're not holding it alone, this that you don't fully understand. When you feel like shit, you don't know why you feel like shit, and you're down and you're depressed, and the person and you it's top of mind for you because you can't help it, and the other person is also holding it top of mind in a very subtle way without having to necessarily bring it up all the time, but just like just holding that sort of space for you throughout that time period until they see you shift back into yourself, and there's some acknowledgement of that, I think is really important. I mean, I feel that a lot from like my best friend Alexis, because she will almost to the point where I have to like remind myself to tell her if I've shifted back into like a pleasant state, because she'll just keep like sort of day after day, like, how are you okay? Are you okay? But it's very nice because I don't see her very often, but she always just keeps me in mind. And if I tell her even passively, like I'm having a really hard time, that will stay top of mind. Even if she's struggling, it'll be like, hey, I know I'm fucked today, but I hope you're okay. Stay with us.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
I think being considerate is a huge thing. And I ran into this with my first breakup, my first like real breakup. One of the things that set it off was that I was moving. I didn't have much furniture, but I was moving one day and he didn't offer to help. And we got in a fight about other things too. But I was like, you never asked, like, you didn't try to help me move. Like, he's very strong. And he was like, well, you never asked. You have to ask if you want help. And I was like, that's not what I want. I want someone who's going to ask if I need help.
Yeah.
And he exhibited very like caring. He was very caring in other ways, but this whole like, and he struggled with mental health. So it was very weird that he, wasn't aware. But I think that I realized that's something I need as like someone who checks in and can actually worry about how like I don't want you to be like stressed over me, but
well, you know what's funny about the thing of he also had mental health issues. It's like, unfortunately, like I would love to think that everyone that struggles with mental health issues that we form this sort of like kumbaya circle and take care of one another. But even from personal experience, like I am often not very supportive. I have a very hard time being supportive sometimes, physically.
Friendships or relationships?
And everything. I mean, when I'm in a bad place, I shut down. Well, the thing is, but the problem is that I shut down quietly. So I have had issues in the past many times over where people are like, you're not there, you're not around. I'm like in a really dark place. Yeah, but because I'm not sharing it, and it's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing sometimes. And I think that different people's mental health struggles manifest differently. And I think even amongst people that struggle mentally, we forget that. So there's some people where it's very apparent when they're not doing well. But then there's some people who are very quiet, and it's like, it's really hard sometimes. Like, I'll go out like once in like a sea of just dark days where I can't see the sun, and people are like, where have you been? I don't know, I've been calling you. And I'm just like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that, because I relate to that a lot. I think when I'm struggling, I also don't ask for help. I think I'm, I found that for me, being of service to others is a way to get me out of my own head. But the other side of that is then I don't often ask for help because I feel like I don't want to burden somebody else. And not that I ever feel like my friends reaching out to me or being there is a burden. If anything, it gets me out of my own head. But I just am not the one to reach out unless somebody reaches out to me. And then I've kind of learned how to talk about it. But I will say in the last like 5 years, and partially due to the friends that I have around me, I have gotten a lot better at asking for help because I found now that I've surrounded myself with a group of women that can give me the solace and feedback and just validation that I need in those moments. But it's a hard cycle to break when you're used to dealing with it alone. And I think it takes those involuntary floodgates opening.
I was just saying yesterday how I literally like suffer until somebody points it out.
She was driving down to Palm Springs like this, just squinting like right into the sun.
I could have pulled over at any moment.
Sunglasses?
I had 3 pairs of sunglasses in the back of the car.
You're a sufferer. You know what it is? You know what it is? Your face physically, you look so much like a religious painting, and I think there's something about the composition of your face that really reminds me of like
Mother Mary
of La Pieta by
there's
Michelangelo.
There's something. It's your eyes. There's something about your eyes that feels very like a religious figure, like looking to God. So it's a martyrdom. I think it's something that like maybe in a past life you sacrificed yourself for a religious cause.
Are you saying I'm Jesus?
No,
Alexa
because
played God as a woman.
Kidding, I'm not.
No one.
You get.
Oh yeah, Patreon coming soon. If you guys want it really bad, just like comment and be like, I want to pay money to hear you guys talk about more risque situations.
Oh yeah, if we didn't bleep names.
We don't bleep names.
Oh, if you're anyone from our past and you want us to talk about anything that's happened, we will tell you.
Oh yeah,
that's an offer.
The one thing I would
love that if someone like reminded me of something because I have a terrible memory.
The next episode, I think what we should do is we should open like anonymous submissions where people either can ask advice or they can ask us about a story they may know about us and have us comment.
We'd love that
because my memory sucks. I don't know my own. I don't know my lore.
Yeah, you don't know your lore.
If you know something about me, please.
But also,
I'm
I think
dying for that.
The 3 of us, as much as we've, we are kind of good in a crisis. If that makes sense.
100%.
If you have advice.
We can give you advice.
No, not like literally
mentally,
crisis.
spiritually.
Don't call us if
I was
if you are
3 blind mice.
Yeah,
sorry, I meant like an emotional crisis.
Yes.
If you need advice, we will submit. We will be opening the Night School DMs as well as we
need an
Q&A.
Anonymous. Yeah, an anonymous.
Yeah,
Form
Spring.
Tumblr.
Does Form Spring still exist?
No.
Okay. We'll figure
probably
it out.
Something that we could use.
So we'll open that next week and we'll have you guys submit. Thank you guys for joining. I know this wasn't our usual setup. We so appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for all the feedback. Please, for the love of Jesus fucking Christ, like, comment, subscribe. I need you to do this, okay? I need you to go on Spotify. I need you to subscribe. I need you to go on Apple Podcasts. I need you to subscribe. I need you to go, whatever it is you listen to your freaking podcasts on, and like and subscribe, okay? Also the YouTube. I'm not seeing a lot of YouTube traffic. I'd like that to change. Get on that YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I'm recording in 4K. We're recording with 4K on a phone right now. I do this production very high quality, so give me some love for it, okay? Thank you. Anyways, we love you. We'll see you guys next week.
Love you.
Bye.